Welcome to another edition of the channel's Mailbag. So what is Mailbag? Well, Mailbag is the part of the channel that you guys actually control. It's based on comments, questions, general feedback that you guys leave either on the YouTube channel, the website, or through one of my social media feeds. Mailbag contains what I think the answer is, what I think my view of the comment is, or sometimes, I just throw it out to the wider audience and say, what do you guys think? That's what Mailbag is. So let's get in to the first mailbag of this session. Remember, like, comment, subscribe to the channel. Go over to Instagram and follow me there. Go over to Facebook, follow me there. That's where the normal notices are. And consider becoming a Patreon. Next one comes from Charles Babbage. And this was in response to Roland S-50 Rust Removal Restoration Part 6, a video I did in August 2022. Yes, the S-50, the labour of love. First off, I love the channel and grateful for documenting your journey through the S-50 refurb. One thing I'd like to mention is that grinding off all that rust with the Dremel, with aerosise the rust particles, this means that you're going to be in your lungs and all over your workshop where you do your electronics repair. Well, my workshop's been cleaned quite a few times actually, but thanks for the tip. In the future, you might want to wear a mask that can filter out small particles when you do this kind of work. Try and do it outdoors. I'm sure the English weather doesn't make standing outdoors very much fun certain times of the year. Absolutely right there. I've just been working on the Roland R8, and I did all that outside, wearing a mask, and it was quite a hot day as well, and yeah, there was a lot of dust. Anyway, thanks again for what you do. Please take care of your house so you can do more of it for longer. Now, what I do remember about when I was doing the stuff for the S-50 was the temperature outside was fairly low. In fact, I think at a few times it was probably below zero. So I didn't really have an option on the whether it could be done outdoors or indoors. But I do take your point on the mask because I have been wearing masks and I normally would wear masks. So the next comment or question comes from Yazriel. I think that's how you pronounce it. And this was in response to Yamaha SY99 Part 6, installing a new power cord. And Yazriel writes, hello, I have an SY99 and I changed to a new LCD. Now the LCD works, but none of the buttons are working. They light up when I turn on the keyboard, and I have no idea what's going on. Have you any idea what's going on? Very interesting question. So when I read comments like that, my immediate thought is, when you change the LCD, did you reconnect all the connectors? Because there's several ribbon cables that come off that assembly, or come off the, if you think in the SY77, the screen is actually assembled, is a separate assembly, but all around it, if you want to get the screen out, you quite often have to take all the other cables on the other boards around it out. So the first thing I kind of said back was, in this instance, if you disconnected something, are you sure you've reconnected everything? Now, if none of the buttons are working, then that would probably indicate there's no power. So that would be the first thought about connecting ribbon cables, etc. Now, the next thing I'd look at is, have I damaged any of the connectors when I reassemble the machine following the initial teardown? So again, with the SY99 and the SY77, you go in from the bottom. So you take the back plate off, then you take the logic boards out, then you take any other boards out to get to the screen. So the screen is the last thing to come out of the machine once you've taken everything else out. That's how the machine is built. So that's the next thing I'd be looking at is, have you damaged one of those connectors, bent a pin or something, when you pulled the ribbon cable out and put the ribbon cable back in. These things are actually, I mean, they look quite robust, but some instances are quite delicate. If you get it wrong, it doesn't take a lot of force to bend something quite rapidly. So that's the first thing I do. The next thing I do is look at all the connectors. Now there are a couple of connectors that could go in multiple positions. Now what I tend to do when I get one of these machines is I get a Sharpie type pen and I just mark the connectors in different places. Okay, so that way I know when I'm actually marrying the connectors up to put them back together, I know that when the lines align, that's the connector for that. That's the ribbon connector for that slot on the PCB. Just a little snippet, top tip, that one. Now, if you've ruled out reassembly errors, the next step is a visual inspection of the boards to see if you've disturbed anything or snapped anything from either the control surface or one of the other boards as you disassembled and reassembled. It's very easy to catch things like capacitors because they stick out from the board. So make sure you haven't caught one of those and broken the legs. That kind of thing is very hard to find. You need to kind of go over each pit with a magnifying glass to make sure you haven't done something like that. But if you get to the point where you can't find it on visual inspection, and I'm afraid at that point it's time to get the meters and the oscilloscope out and start checking power and signal paths. That's where it gets a bit interesting. I haven't done much oscilloscope work on the channel. I do have one, I do use it, but some of the repairs I've been doing haven't needed it. There is a repair that's coming up which you will see the oscilloscope actually in action, because I needed it to find out where the hell the thing was going wrong. So yeah, that's kind of the advice I'd give you on that one.